Let's talk about barriers to women's health on the Teal Couch today. I'm Golda Arthur. I'm the host and creator of the Overlooked podcast, a women's health show. I'm here with Pamela Esposito Amory, the CEO and co-founder of Tell Every Amazing Lady. We're at the T.E.A.L Community Center in Brooklyn, New York, on this blinged out, fabulous teal couch. And I'm super excited to get into the conversation about women's health with you today. Let me start here. Should everybody get an annual checkup at their gynecologist?
Yes, but
Hard
many
yes.
don't. Yes,
Yeah.
it's definitely yes. Highly advised. But we've been finding over the years of running this foundation for so long and speaking to women and those born with ovaries, it's not standard. And there's a lot of things that come up, fear or reasons, maybe childcare, sometimes even a language barrier and education. So trying to help figure that out and come up with some solutions, we decided to do a needs assessment, and we actually studied got over 500 people in New York City to answer some questions for us, and our results were not that surprising. It's what we did expect, but we found there was so many barriers getting in the way of why people were not making a doctor's appointment for OBGYN care. But some of those barriers were things also like transportation or childcare. And we're trying to fix that. We're trying to find ways to solve some of these problems, especially starting with education on why it's so important.
So let me ask you a follow-up question or something you just said is really interesting. Tell me a little bit about this idea of fear, right? And of course, I think everybody understands it. It's uncomfortable. It's not our favorite thing to do. We know it's important, but it's easy to skip, especially if, as you say, there's not something pressing that we're having to deal with. But let's talk about fear a little bit more. What is it that makes us so nervous?
Yeah, I can answer for myself or things that we've talked to people about over the years, but sometimes it's a fear of unknown, right? What is anyone afraid of going to any doctor, but especially for the gynecologist? We found that a lot of young women who had never been to a gynecologist yet just were terrified of the unknown. It was just, we don't learn about gynecology. We don't learn it in like a textbook or in school, or where do you learn about it? Maybe online at a video like this, or, so that information, that lack of information creates just that unknown abyss of what to expect. Maybe those who had been there before, there also could have been maybe discomfort or not a wonderful experience. So you sort of put it off and don't want to do it again, or fear of bad news.
Yeah, and I know that I'm certainly guilty of the not going because I don't want any bad news at all.
Yeah.
But certainly so important. So where do we go from there? Like this is it's a complex problem. There's a lot of different factors. Where do you start to solve something, or how do you start to solve something like that?
I know some women who actually make these sort of group meetings or group plans to get their mammograms done. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No, I haven't.
A couple of friends might schedule their mammograms and then go out for lunch or go to a spa or just make it a fun and fabulous kind of experience.
That is a great idea.
So what about doing that for the gynecologist? You just make your appointments and then go out for lunch afterwards. And it just maybe kind of takes some of that fear away from it and make it sort of fun.
Yeah, I love that idea also because it opens us up to the idea that we should talk about this stuff a little bit more, whether it's with our friends or one friend, this ability to say out loud, this is what I'm experiencing, and then, be able to just talk about it a bit more, figure out what happens next. That kind of support is so important, isn't it? I love that idea.
Yeah, and we're called Tell Every Amazing Lady, so we're here today talking about it.
Awesome. So let's say we've booked that appointment, we're going to the gynecologist. What can we expect? There's like a bunch of tests that can be done. Say a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the gynecologist is like going to your primary care, just more about women's health. So when I go to my gynecologist, I talk about breast health. We schedule my mammograms oftentimes. We'll usually do a pap smear, and remember the pap smear does not check for ovarian cancer. It's only checking for cervical cancer. So we might talk about symptoms. We might even talk about diet. There could be birth control conversations, sexual health conversations. So it really can be, a little bit of a full body experience. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice, but the gynecologist could be looked at, for the place that you can go for not just, everything down there. Like I just mentioned breast, I just mentioned, your overall, they might run blood tests. It's still important to make those appointments and really important to do them annually.
And underlying all of these tests actually is this idea of building a relationship with your doctor, right? Is that if you go annually, you see this person at least once a year, and you're seeing them when there isn't something extremely wrong, right? There isn't like a medical problem to solve. So you're doing it in kind of a low stakes way. You're getting to know them, they're getting to know you. I think there's great value in that.
So yeah, it's important to really develop a file and a relationship with the doctor. So it's advised as young as 13 to start going to the gynecologist. It's just a part of life, and it's a part of that women's health, because we can talk about different things in that exam room. It could be about breast health, when should you start mammograms, to go over family history, go over other risk factors. But, women's health is the whole body. There's a lot of different things that could come up. There could be infection. There could be just annual development of your body. When you're in childbearing ages, there could be pregnancy conversations and fertility conversations. So it's just important to get ahead of other diseases too. We run blood tests, and I get a lot of my annual blood work done by my gynecologist too. So you could find out about vitamin deficiencies and your overall just women's health in general. So some of this could also be misconceptions. I think everyone always thinks about the scary stirrups and that exam that maybe isn't something we all want to look forward to. It's a part of life, but you also have a conversation with your doctor, and there could be other testing that could be done as well.
So that's great. And, encouraging everybody to get out there and at least once a year to have a gynecology appointment. It is something that education is really needed in this respect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many barriers that seem to come up over the years that we've heard of, and we wound up doing this needs assessment. But, it shouldn't be fear-based, and there's a lot of things that we're trying to break down, and education is that starting point. So, we're having that conversation today. Some of our materials are actually in different languages. We have 13 different languages. So if there's a culture or a language barrier, telleveryamazinglady.org can be a place that some people can find some support there and information. But it's so important, especially with some diseases, not just ovarian cancer,
Right.
to have those annual exams, to get that blood work done, to have the doctor examine you. We really could get ahead of things and have earlier diagnosis of things. And that doesn't mean to say every time you're going to go to the doctor that something will be diagnosed. That's the whole point, to remain healthy and stay alert and be empowered by that information.
Yeah. Put the work into staying healthy in that sense. All right. Thanks so much, Pamela. That was great to hear about.
Thank you.